What's up, y'all? This is Brittany from She Abundantly at sheabundantly.com. So, one of the greatest pieces of advice that I've ever gotten from one of my mentors is this: don't focus on the success, but focus on the obedience. Focus on what God has told you to do. You know, oftentimes when we start things, for example, you may start a business or serving in some capacity, ministry wise, whatever task or project you are doing, we often tend to focus on the numbers, right? We live in a social media age to where people are so focused on numbers. I gotta get my followers up. I gotta get my subscribers up. I gotta get my likes up. I gotta get numbers up. And when you think about it, why? Like, ask yourself, why? Why do you want to get these numbers up? Why do you want to get your followers up? Like, are you getting them up to follow you? Or are you trying to lead them to God and to Christ? Like, what are we doing here? And you know, when you start to follow numbers, you start to fluctuate with those numbers. So if you feel like you got a lot of followers or your numbers are growing, then you feel better about yourself, or you even feel better about the message that you're giving. But if your numbers start to dwindle, or you're not getting as many followers as you would like, you start to feel inferior or defeated or insecure and feel like your message or what you're called to do is not as powerful. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we fail, is where we fall hard, because we have missed the mark. We don't understand what we are called to do. And so for me, as an example, I'm on social media. I have a website. You know, the purpose and the mission, or the message that God has given me, is sexual purity, teaching girls about self-esteem, and just so many other things as well. And I know that the message within itself, it is powerful. It is from God. It's not faulty. It is good all by itself. But I had to catch myself, and I have to catch myself on a daily basis and remind myself that it's not about numbers that determines my worth or the power in the message that God has given me. But it's all about obedience. God may have given you a task, a place to serve for just one person. If God was to tell you, I want you to do this, now it's going to take you some time, it's going to take some energy out of you, but I want you to do this for one person. Be honest with yourself. Would you do it? What if God has given you a purpose? Write a book, write this song, or drive here or move here for one person. Would you be obedient? Would you do it? And that is something that we are all to challenge ourselves with and ask ourselves on a daily basis. Because let's not forget why we're here. God is a people God. He cares about people, but he's also a personal God, specific kind of God. And I was just sitting on my bed thinking about this message and encouraging myself, because I speak to myself all the time, by myself, with nobody around. And I'm reminded that God is a specific kind of God. Have you ever been in an encounter or a place to where you was like, man, that was just for me? Like, ain't nobody around. Somebody may have blessed you in some kind of way, and it's like you had that moment of, it was just for me. Nobody else but me. Think about that and remember that God gives those just for me moments to everybody. You see, this walk with God it's a continual thing. The word tells us that our salvation is to be worked out on a daily basis. So from when a person is born, they may be 50 years old now, 18, 25, whatever. God is taking them through a process every single day. And through those processes, God brings encounters, or he makes them encounter specific people along the way, allowing them to have specific encounters that is just for them. And guess what? You may be assigned to that person's specific encounter, just like somebody has been assigned to your specific encounters, those encounters that you felt like was just for you and only you. So I want us to be encouraged and to be reminded that we should never focus on the success, or how many people viewed my videos, how many people went to my website, or how many numbers I got. And I'm only encouraging you with this because I've been in this place, and I'm encouraging myself not to be burdened or confused. What's a great word? Not to be misled by numbers, not to base what I am doing off of numbers, but off of the voice of God, off of what He has called me to do. This whole thing that I'm doing may have been specifically for 5 girls. Who knows? You don't know that unless God has given you specific instructions about that. We don't know God's plans. His ways is so much higher than ours. His thoughts is so much far gone, higher than ours. And when she told me that piece of advice, it was so freeing. And it's so freeing today because it takes a burden off of you. Everybody wants to be called to the masses. I want to be called to the nations, and it's great. It's wonderful if that's where God is calling you to. But what if God is calling you to that very one? What if God is calling you to yourself? Focus on yourself. Everything that God has given you. Could it be that He's giving you this word so that He can renew your mind instead of everybody else's? If you're encouraging people right now, if you have a mentor program or whatever God has called you to do, trust and believe that it is a seed planted in their hearts. And you don't know when that seed is going to grow. God has sent people here to plant seeds and to water seeds, but it is God's responsibility and His sovereign power to make it grow in that person's heart, not ours. So you could tell somebody something when they're 18 years old and they don't get it till when they're 30 years old. And if they don't get it right then and then, you'll look at yourself like, I'm a failure. I didn't tell you what you were supposed to know. Or, really focusing on self. Hello, it is a selfish ambition. Yeah, check your own heart, because I got to check my own heart too. Focusing on so much on self when it has absolutely nothing to do with you, but everything to do with the love of God and how He pours it off on other people. So be willing to be used, be willing to be obedient to God at that time, and don't focus on the outcome, because God got it. He gonna take care of it. And every word that comes from heaven, it's not going to return to Him void, is what His word says. It's going to accomplish the purpose that He sent it to do. Be obedient to God and be faithful to that one. Y'all stay encouraged. Peace.